This is a film study look at how Keaton Mitchell was able to provide a boost for the Ravens offense and their special teams, in fact, in the second half of their 30-16 win over the Chicago Bears, helping the Ravens get back in the win column without Lamar Jackson. I'll also, at the end of the video, kind of give some speculation as to how or why I think this may have occurred. Of course, Coach Harbaugh did, leading into the game, talk about needing to get Keaton Mitchell involved while tipping his cap to Justice Hill and what he's capable of providing. They're two different players. In my opinion, Keaton Mitchell's big playability far exceeds what Rasheen Ali offers at any point in time during his NFL career, and even, in fact, what Justice Hill can give us. He's made big plays for the Ravens in the last 2 or 3 years, he being Hill, but in my opinion, Keaton Mitchell's got to be a bigger factor or play a bigger role, if you will, even earlier in some of these upcoming games. Near the end of the video, I'll give some speculation as to how I think this opportunity or these opportunities arose for Keaton Mitchell, and we'll pick this up with his first touch. So this is actually into the second half. In fact, it's a 1st and 10 backed up into our own territory, a negative 14-yard line. So it's a pin-pull concept off of a fast motion by Zay Flowers. We used that multiple times. I will tell you one thing that's happened in 2025. It's not always precise or technically perfect, but DeAndre Hopkins is a guy who's willing to block and has the awareness to, in this case, take the nickel defender down. So that's domino or step number 1 in getting this guy out of the way. Step number 2 will be Jaquan Brisker, the strong safety who's rolled up, going to the inside of this block by Charlie Kolar, and how everything flows from that is Keaton Mitchell has this speed, the only guy on our roster, in fact, who has the speed to get to the sideline like this on a run play. He's a unique talent, in my opinion. It was almost a dereliction of duty from my perspective for him not to be active in the first 4 weeks. This is a guy who can score on any given touch. This is 25 yards. He has electric ability with the ball in his hands. Maybe not a great inside runner, whatever you want to call it. We're going to get Flowers out of the way here, meaning he's going to motion for left to right for the offense, right to left on our screen. And then Hopkins is going to take the nickel defender who stems down. He's going to take him down. Kolar and Ronnie Stanley pull, and they get out in front. Here's Hopkins. I think he's done a better job blocking, to be honest with you, than I anticipated or than I expected so far in 2025. Mitchell receiving the pitch, and Kolar getting to the outside of Brisker's shoulder, I think, is important. Really the only other guy that I can remember from 2023 up to now who can get to the corner with this type of speed, this quick. We're going to face him on Thursday, and that's A-Chain, the running back for Miami. Of course, both of those guys had amazing rookie seasons in 2023. We know that Keaton Mitchell's was obviously cut short for a horrific injury. His kick return in the fourth quarter when we're up 16-13, it's kind of cool. It's very simple, and if you ask me how it occurs, a nice little wrinkle on how the Bears are trying to get this covered. So it's a directional kick, obviously, to Keaton Mitchell. He's going to field the ball, and that means that Rasheen Ali's got to try to get all the way over here in front. So the scheme, let's start this off. Ali's going to get the end man on the line of scrimmage, or the end man usually is the force player. And then Keaton Mitchell, trying not to give away his intentions for where he's going to go, is waiting as long as possible to veer behind Rasheen Ali's block. I'll rewind it in a moment, and I'll show you how the Bears get a free unblocked defender from this scrum. And all Keaton Mitchell's got to do is jump inside of this block by Ali and avoid this unblocked defender. Fortunately for the Bears, they've got a guy pursuing inside out. Otherwise, this really could have been a touchdown if this defender didn't fold back. Let's pull this back and show you exactly what happens here from a Bears standpoint, how they're able to get an unblocked player at the point of attack. So instead of veering off in this direction, I think it's Buchanan who's blocking this defender. I'm not sure exactly who that is. He's going to step down, and he's going to violently try to pick, I think that's Kolar, but I could be wrong. And then this defender, the third man in from the sideline, normally you don't number from the sideline, to be honest with you, but he folds over the top. We'll let you guys see it a couple of times, the way they get this accomplished. And basically it creates an unblocked guy folding over the top who's able to front up Keaton Mitchell. He doesn't make the tackle because Keaton Mitchell just goes underneath of this block by Ali. This is the player who folds back away from our front line, and he's the guy who's basically able to help this punter out. Keaton Mitchell, veers it out of bounds nonetheless. It's a great return of 39 yards. We're forced to punt on this possession, unfortunately, even though we started with great field position. He did get one touch on that possession into the fourth quarter. Like I said, at this point, the Ravens are up by 3. In the eye, it's essentially a toss with Ricard as the lead blocker. I think we blocked this quite poorly at the left tackle, and then in addition, Rashad Bateman. I'll give you the end zone angle so you can see, kind of confirm for yourself. We're motioning Flowers out of here. He'll go get that corner. And so the way that this works out is the strong safety who's rolled up, I think it's Brisker, he's going to get taken on by Ricard. Stanley is trying to deal with the defensive end. Stanley has allowed the defensive end to get into his chest. And so what ends up happening here is the force player, the strong safety, shows up. Ricard's got to go to him. This defensive end has beat Stanley. And again, I'll give you the end zone angle so you can kind of confirm that. Mitchell has to wind it back, and there's a whole lot of pursuit there from an inside-out angle. I think he only gets 3 yards. I do like the concept, obviously. I just think it's a poor job of blocking all the way around off of our left side. I'm talking about Stanley and then Bateman. First of all, Stanley trying to deal with the defensive end. I'd kind of like for Flowers and Bateman to deal with the linebacker and Brisker. Basically leave the corner unblocked. So the out motion by Flowers, I get it. We're trying not to give away our intention. I feel like it's a compressed formation with a wide receiver tight lay line to the defensive end. It's pretty obvious what we're trying to get done here. Normally, we would block that defensive end. In this case, Bateman does not. He goes up to the linebacker level. Edmonds, who's had a fantastic 2025, didn't really have a whole lot of impact here. They're able to bottle up Mitchell on the play. Like I said, it ends up being a 3-yard gain. Mitchell's next opportunity didn't come until the 8th possession. It's now a 23-16 ball game. Chicago's able to get within 7, courtesy of a field goal on their last possession. 13 personnel with Likely, Kolar, and Andrews on the field. Huntley spreads them out, obviously predetermined by Monken via call. We've got 2 tight ends to the bottom, 1 tight end to the top. The Bears are in a different personnel package, so it's 5 defensive linemen, 2 inside linebackers, and I think 3 safeties on the field, only 1 corner. Basically, they're telling us we're matching up man-to-man. It's QB counter read. I think these are called this late in the game between Huntley and Mitchell. I think Todd Monken has called this. The read man should be up here to the top side. And you can see Huntley is not looking there at all. His helmet and everything is here either at the second level or this defender who's unblocked. I don't think that Huntley is actually reading those guys. I think he's just trying to hold them with his eyes. Andrews gets to this defender. I think it's Biard. There's the path that Mitchell goes on. All he's got to do is try to outrun that defensive end to the sideline. He's able to do so for a 13-yard gain. This is the one where J.J. Watt says he should, try to stay in bounds or get down. I understand it, but we're trying to score here. I think Keaton Mitchell's just trying to score. He's hungry, and later on a couple of carries he gets on this possession, it'll be pretty obvious that he's actually been instructed to run out of bounds at that time. So this would be the read man on this call. So if that read man were to, let's say violently run down the line, chasing the right tackle, in this case Rosengarten, then of course that'd be a give. The first time we saw this, when I was coaching high school, we called it inverted veer, meaning the give to the running back is inverted. Usually the give to the running back would occur when the defensive end runs upfield, but that means that the running back's path is more downhill, right? But so this is inverted, whereas if the defensive end goes upfield, you're not going to give the ball to the running back. You're going to keep it behind the pulling right guard and right tackle. Again, we called it inverted veer. Nowadays, just called QB counter read or just bash. Not looking at the read man at all. Huntley clearly looking to the left side, maybe just trying to hold that backside defensive end 55 and hold the linebackers, and you can see the angle that's been created. Just let Mitchell outrun the dude. We didn't really have to do anything here from a schematic standpoint. I think this was called by Monken to give the football to Mitchell as a pre-snap. It could have been a pre-snap determination by Huntley, but I don't think so. same possession, and I do think this is notable that Keaton Mitchell's getting the ball 3 carries in a row in the fourth quarter while we have a 7-point lead of a game that, really gets us started moving towards trying to even out our record eventually. 2-5 is nowhere close to 500, but one win, you can't get the 3 or 4 wins in a row if you don't get the first one. It's important for me that Monken is getting the ball to Mitchell here as opposed to anyone else, including Justice Hill. Not that I think that Monken doesn't like Hill's game or Derrick Henry, but this is an 11 personnel group, and it's bunch A. So Mitchell is on the same side as the tight end and the 2 receivers, hence the lettering designation A-gun. And it's a run back to the 1 receiver side. Here's the theoretical read man. We'll give you the end zone angle so you can see it. Mitchell bounces this to the outside. Initially, I thought Rosengarten did a better job. He definitely gets off the ball quickly and then kind of just loses the strength battle with this defensive end. But the inside linebacker can't fill. Mitchell gets it to the outside, breaks the tackle. It's an 8-yard gain, but it's negated, or I shouldn't say negated. Instead, we accepted a 5-yard penalty on the defense on the play. I believe they lined up offsides, but I could be wrong. Same play from the end zone angle. You can see Andrews on the same side as Keaton Mitchell, and this is really cool to be running back to the side where we only have 1 receiver. I'm talking about Rashad Bateman. This is something that we never did under Greg Roman. We would never run to the 1 receiver side unless we had a fullback or a tight end to lead the way. In this case, you're really just talking about a zone scheme look where we're running the ball opposite of the side where we had the most receivers. In any case, this should be the read man. Huntley's clearly looking at him. 55, nowhere near to Mitchell, so it's a good read if he is, in fact, reading it. Like I said, initially I thought that Rosengarten really got into this defensive end. He definitely gets off the ball and hits him with a shot, but then kind of gets out-strengthened there by the defensive end just tossing him off. Fortunately, Mitchell is able to break the tackle, and we had a fail-safe here in that there was a 5-yard penalty on the Bears for lining up offsides. Third carry in a row, and this is a 1st and 5 after the aforementioned penalty. This is, of course, on the same possession, the 8th drive. Another one, QB counter read, so he's crossing Huntley's face in front. And in this case, the linemen are pulling opposite of that flow, right? The linemen are blocking for the keep. Typically in an option scheme, the linemen block for the dive. They block for the give. That's not the case on this concept. He's running to the outside. It's a really great angle by this inside linebacker, if you ask me. I think it's Edwards to basically chase him down from an inside-out angle. This is where I think Mitchell had been coached or told to make sure he gets out of bounds. Because for me, for my money, I want him to sideline this. I just want him to sideline this and beat Edwards for a 5, 6, 7, or maybe an 8-yard gain. Who knows? He could actually even beat the guy around the corner. That's the type of speed that he has. In any case, great angle by Edwards, in my opinion. Forced Mitchell to make that decision, which only ended up being a 2-yard gain. I think it's important to mention again how much Monken obviously trusts Keaton Mitchell. I'm not sure that trust emanates or originates from John Harbaugh. You can see the look that they're giving us, 5 down linemen. There's TJ Edwards, and then this is Jaquan Brisker rolled up to Mark Andrews' side. Clearly they're playing man. What would be the read man? And in this case, again, if he was to violently run down the line, then you're going to give the football. If he steps upfield, then you're going to keep it. He does really neither of those, tries to half-man, surf it, whatever you want to call it, and then run inside out while the inside linebacker is basically being the force player. I think Keaton Mitchell's just trying to stay in bounds. I get no sense that, he's actually trying to score here. But in any case, it says a lot about what Todd Monken thinks of Keaton Mitchell and his unique skills that he got 3 consecutive carries in the fourth quarter of a 1-score game. I want to go even one step further there with that thought before I continue for the last 2 plays that actually don't involve Keaton Mitchell. There was a ton of pressure put on Todd Monken this week in the media, and we can only assume that some of that was okayed or checked off by someone in the Ravens organization. It certainly seems like it. They weren't rushing, let's put it this way, to get out in front of it and defend him in public like they did for Zach Orr. But in any case, it's interesting to me that the same week that occurs, and we now have video of Todd Monken walking up to the stadium in pregame and dropping an F-bomb and being quite outlandish, if you will, talking to one of the fans. And I actually like his demeanor and his behavior. He basically came to fight for his job. I wonder what things would have looked like if we had another poor offensive showing under Tyler Huntley. I don't think that that's a high percentage chance that that could have occurred, because I think Todd Monken knows what he's doing, and he came in with a good game plan, and I don't think it's random or chance that Keaton Mitchell got his first opportunities on the same game. Like I said, we're really done with the Keaton Mitchell analysis here, so we'll talk about 2 plays. First of all, the boot that is out of a 22 personnel group, so basically full flow between Henry and Ricard to the right-hand side of our offense, the top side of our screen. And then Huntley is going to boot off of it. What I really love about this play is the effort, the tenacity that Ronnie Stanley shows. He had left the game earlier with an injury. It looked bad. I have no idea what it was. Thankfully, it wasn't an ankle or anything like that. You've got a 3-on-2 that Monken has created with Stanley versus this defensive end, Flowers versus, I believe that's right, an outside corner, and then Huntley. So there's your 3-on-2, 5. There are 17 players for both sides in this triangle here. So Monken created this space. It's a really great play call. Well, the gravity of Derrick Henry really is what creates the space, and I'll give you the end zone angle to kind of prove that for you guys. It's a great play from Ronnie Stanley. Heart and guts, just getting out there in front to try to give Huntley a lane to really almost score a touchdown. He powers for a 10-yard gain. Same play from the end zone angle, balls on the left hash. We've got 2 tight ends to the right, Likely and Kolar, and then Ricard is going to step in the same direction as Derrick Henry. Basically, they're trying to make this look like power or some type of kick concept. Look at what the Bears have done one more time. They got 10 guys in the box. Flowers and the outside corner are off screen to our left. Really cool that Stanley's able to get this done in the manner that he does. Watch his step. First he cups and steps down, and then jumps back to the outside of this defensive end. So it's not like Stanley's first steps were here kind of giving away to that defensive end the intentions of where we wanted to attack. In addition, back to the defense from a Tyler Huntley standpoint. Back to the defense, they have no ability to see the football. None of these guys has any clue where it is. The only thing that they have to go on is the fact that Henry and Ricard both worked in the same direction, and it kind of looks like a run play. So spectacular job, if you ask me, of holding all these defenders in here, second-level defenders as well as the defensive line. Huntley gets to the outside courtesy of the escort from Stanley. It's a great play call, in my opinion. In this situation, I think it's inside of 3 minutes when that ball is snapped. It might have even been 2:47. I could be wrong there. Gives us an opportunity. Well, gave Huntley an opportunity to score, right? He didn't take advantage of it, or he was unable to get all the way in the end zone, but Derrick Henry had it covered. I also think it's notable that Henry's 2 touchdown runs in this game both ended up to the outside. We've spent so many opportunities in the red zone short yardage in the past 3, 4, 5 years running power, and that's what we go for here, okay? It's, again, a 10-man box by the Bears, clearly a goal line look, right? And it was effective. They kind of stacked this up on the front side. We run power to our right-hand side, so power involves a pulling guard, usually a kick out by the fullback. Neither one of those really happens because the Bears stuff this totally. I believe it's Kolar as the outside tight end gets stabbed by, I think that's Penei Sewell's younger brother there, and they've really created a wall, they being the Bears, not allowing us to get any penetration or create any lane whatsoever. Henry is stacked up and then bounces it back to the outside. Really ominous moment here, in my opinion. When I saw him retreat, I thought, oh, man, could they call, first of all, forward progress, second of all, which is, a BS designation oftentimes by the refs. I think it's like very inconsistently applied, but Henry's able to take advantage of it, bounce outside, get to the pylon, or just inside the pylon pretty easily, and put us up by 14 points. I know I went away from the Keaton Mitchell analysis. He really only got 4 touches on offense. Well, a 5th one that didn't count, the 8-yard gain that I showed you, and then 2 kickoff returns. There's a lot to say about this game and what Monken tried to do with Huntley and then also with Keaton Mitchell. I think Monken's back was against the wall because he was the focus of the media on offense going in, even though I believe he'd been using a backup quarterback since week 4. So weeks 4, 5, and 6. Backup quarterback in the 4th quarter against the Chiefs and then the Texans and the Rams. Meanwhile, we're last in points per game allowed on defense and multiple other data points as well. Just seemed kind of crazy. In any case, I do speculate that he wanted to get Mitchell the ball to provide a spark for the offense. Not that he doesn't trust Henry, clearly. That would be a silly observation by anyone. But because Monken, in fact, does trust Mitchell. He was the offensive coordinator in 2023, and I just don't think Monken cares about why or when or how many in-game opportunities a player should get compared to how many special team snaps they play. Harbaugh may or may not, whatever. I don't really care at this point. I just know that Todd Monken doesn't. He wanted to win. And I'm glad to see that when it came down to it in the second half, Mitchell got opportunities. That tells me that Monken thinks he's part of the formula and part of the equation. That's what I think too. And I know a lot of fans, a lot of you guys listening do as well. One of the runs that I showed, like I said, didn't end up counting, but I think it's important because two of Mitchell's big runs in 2023 were plays where we have like trips to one side and we run to the back side. If you recall the play that I showed you where he runs back to the side, in fact, where Rashad Bateman is, who's not a great blocker, he's not consistent, and he gets 8 yards, but it's, we elected to take the penalty on the Bears. That dynamic is rarely used in the NFL. There's not many teams that are willing to run back to the side of one receiver unless there's a fullback, tight end, or a pulling lineman getting out there, essentially like a counter scheme. And so I think it's important. Mitchell can bust plays to either side of a formation, but in particular to the weak side where we only have one receiver. He officially finished with 4 carries for 43 yards and then 2 kick returns for 66 yards. I think I showed the potential impact that he can have. Actually, you guys didn't need me to do that. You already understood that. There's no reason to think he doesn't get more opportunities. I like Justice Hill. He's made plays for us in the past, and he could bust some impact plays in the Dolphins game or even moving forward after that. I just think Keaton Mitchell's more dangerous. I do. I think with the ball in his hand that he provides more impact, more potential, and Todd Monken agrees with it. He gave Mitchell 5 carries, only 4 counted, and Justice Hill just 1. I know I was really happy to finally see Mitchell get an opportunity. Well, just to see him be on the field. The whole special teams thing, so disingenuous in my opinion and short-sighted by Harbaugh or whoever is involved in making the decision because there's such a wide gap between what Mitchell and Ali can do. Or really what I should say, what Ali can't. I get it. Fans of other teams or other fan bases might think, well, first of all, they're probably not watching this video, but second of all, they probably think we're making too big of a deal about a guy like Keaton Mitchell, but we all understand what we were missing in the 2023 playoffs. That dynamic he brought, the explosiveness. We could have used him against the Texans and even the Chiefs. Why? Because one snap, one carry, one touch could be the difference between a 5, 6, 8-yard gain or maybe even a 10-yard gain for Derrick Henry or Justice Hill or a touchdown. He's got that level of athleticism and burst. It's just very rare and unique. And I think we did Mitchell and this team a disservice by not having him available in the first 4 weeks of the season. You're more than welcome to have a different opinion than I do. I think Mitchell being integrated here gives us a chance to generate some big plays, and this offense needs it. I think in order to actually give him that opportunity, actually give our offense that opportunity, he probably needs to get 6 or 8 touches per game, even early in the first half. You're welcome to let me know what you think of that thought, some of the overall conclusions that I gave, and then the film that I presented to show his impact. Appreciate you guys' time if you check this one out. I enjoy producing these, particularly late at night, as I let this one premiere after the Monday night game finishes. I appreciate you guys' time. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this film study look at Keaton Mitchell, along with some commentary about why, perhaps, Todd Monken made sure he got the ball in this week in particular, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.